Hello and welcome to my Ciao Land of the Rising Sun mini album tutorial series designed for scrap and create. If you would like to follow along with the tutorial series, check out the links in the description box below where you can purchase all the supplies that you will need to make this mini album. Let's get into the tutorial. In today's tutorial, we are going to work on the back side of page 2. So my first piece, I'm going to cut to 7 1/4 by 2 1/4. On the 2 1/4 inch side, I'm going to score at 1/2 inch along the top of my piece. The next piece measures 7 1/4 by 5 1/2. On the 5 1/2 inch side, I'm going to score this at 1/2 inch along the bottom edge. Then I've got two pieces that measure 4 5/8 by 4 1/2. On the 4 5/8 inch side, I'm going to score this at 1/2 and 4 1/8. Then I'm going to turn this and I'm going to score on the 4 1/2 inch side at 1/2 inch along the bottom. I'm going to repeat that on my second piece, scoring at 1/2 inch and 4 1/8. Then I'm going to turn the 4 1/2 inch side and score at 1/2 inch. Now on these pieces, I'm going to cut straight through those diagonal pieces to remove that excess paper, and then I'm going to miter the ends on my pocket. And then for these two pieces, I'm just going to miter those ends like I normally would. I'm going to use my bone folder to crease all those folds. Then we'll come back and adhere these pieces to the page. I'm going to start with my smaller long piece, applying my adhesive to that back piece of the 1/2 inch tab. And then this piece is going to go at the top of the page. So I'm going to line up that score line with the top edge, making sure that the left and right sides of the page are lined up as well. And then burnish this down. Then I'm going to take my large piece and apply my adhesive here to my 1/2 inch tab. And on this piece, I'm going to apply this at the bottom of the page. So I'm going to adhere my score line right at the bottom of the page. Now I want to make sure that everything is lined up this way as well. And then burnish this down. Now I'm going to take one of my pockets and apply my adhesive to those 3 tab sections on this pocket. And these pockets are going to go at the bottom of the larger flap, side by side. There might be a little teeny tiny space in between them, but there's not really going to be a gap. They are cut to the same size as the piece. So I'm going to lay this down so that the score line is lined up with the bottom of the page, and I'm making sure that the left edge is lined up with the left edge of the flap. And now I will go ahead and burnish this down really well on all 3 sides. And I'm trying to keep this pretty flat so this pocket doesn't have a lot of extra bulk. Now I'm going to apply the adhesive to the second pocket, again on all 3 of these tab sections. And then when I place this one on the page, I'm going to line it up with the bottom edge and the right edge, but I also want to make sure that it's pretty close in the center, if not touching the center. And mine is actually just a little tiny space, which is just fine. You just don't want there to be overlapping. A little small space is okay, You don't want a huge space, but you don't want them again to be overlapping either. And that just really depends on your scoring board and the scoring tool you're using, because sometimes the pieces will be a little smaller or a little larger just based on how you've scored them. Okay, so we've got a double pocket here. This is going to hold that page closed. And we'll put something in here as well. And then we've got lots of room here for bigger photos. Now I may go ahead and add something down here with the journal cards so that I have another tuck spot down here. But for now, that is all I'm going to do for the build. I will likely come back and add some photo mats, some black cardstock photo mats here so that I can tuck something down in here, but I will also be looking at the decorative papers and the pieces that I can put in here from there. So next we're going to switch over to the Ciao papers. I'm going to be starting with this 8x8 paper here, and first I've cut a 1/2 inch off the bottom. Then I've cut this to 3 3/4 of an inch. Then I've cut this to 7 inches. And then these pieces I just cut straight in half, so 3 1/2 inches by 3 3/4. Now these are going to go here and here on the front of my pocket. I'm going to put them a little bit closer to the center than the outside edges because that space in the center will have 2 pieces, so we just want it to be a smaller gap. Then I've taken one of my chipboard pieces I'm going to use as a swing tab, and I have one of my brads here. Now I've already pierced my holes, so I'm going to show you where these are. So from one of my flowers, I have pierced a hole in the center, and it's about 1/4 of an inch from the edge. And then on this right hand piece, my hole is about 1/4 of an inch over from the left edge and about 5/8 of an inch down from the top edge. So 5/8, 1/4 inch, pierce a hole. I'm going to place my brad down through my swing tab piece, my chipboard piece first. Then I'm going to place it down through my paper. And then I'm going to open the prongs up onto the back side and flatten that out. Then I'm going to place this here. I'm going to swing this and make sure, I have to be careful when I put this on. I may need to actually put it down a little bit further. So when you do yours, make sure that you can get this to fully open with where you're going to be putting this on. So you have to make sure that this will clear this so that this will unlatch. So when it's closed, it'll hold this shut, but you have to be able to unlatch it and you don't want this to catch. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere these 2 pieces down to the fronts of my pockets. Next, I'm taking the 12x12 paper, same paper we've been using, but we're going to be using this black side. I have cut 2 pieces that measure 7 inches. I cut it first to 3 inches, then I cut it in half. So 1 1/2 by 7 inches. I'm going to place one here on the top. I'm going to open this up and I'm going to place the second one here on the bottom. Then from this 12x12 paper, I've cut 1 strip to 7 inches by 1 inch. And I'm going to place this here at the top of this flap, tucking into my pocket. So my pocket, I can actually get this to slide underneath here without having to do much, but I'm going to use my little spatula to lift up just a little tiny bit to get it to tuck in there. The other thing that you can do, I have this little tiny space here where it's hitting. I'm going to just cut a very tiny little V notch in my paper, and that will help it to sit down in there. So I'm going to adhere those 3 pieces down next. Now I've gone ahead and added some things to my pockets. So I have this tag here from one of the cut apart sheets and this one here. And I'm just going to leave them like this so you could journal on the back of them or place a photo on the back of them. Now, if you want to, you can add black cardstock to these, but I'm going to leave mine plain. In this pocket here, I have 2 more. And then I'm going to open the flap up and we're going to work on the inside. So for the base of my page, I have this from the 12 by 12 paper. I've cut this to 7 inches by 5 inches, and I'm going to place this here right in the center of my page. Then from the 12 by 12 paper, I've cut this piece here. I've trimmed a little tiny bit off the top, and it's exactly at the bottom. So this is 4 3/4 of an inch. And then I've trimmed this to 7 inches. Now I cut it first here. There was a piece here. There were 2 of them on the side. I cut these 2 off and then I trimmed it right to the side. Then I cut this off because I liked the colors in this piece rather than the colors with all the others. I'm going to be placing this piece here on this bottom flap. Now for the center section, I've cut a piece of cardstock that measures 2 inches by 4 3/8. And I've cut this piece from the cut-aparts. I'm going to place this here right on the front of my black paper and make a tuck spot. So now I have this piece just adhered down to the front. I've got my 2 little cut-apart cards here. I'm going to leave them plain, that way you can place photos on the back. Now if you want these to have black cardstock on them and cover them with paper on the back, you can do that too. But I'm going to leave mine like this. So I'm going to first sit these here on the right side of the page base. And now I'm going to take my adhesive and apply a thin line across the top, down the left side and the bottom edge of my piece. I'm going to come over here and then I'm going to place this on the left side of my page. And once I have that in place, I'll go ahead and burnish it down. So I'm just going to add these back in here. I'm going to fan mine out because there is a little bit of room to do so. So you can see that there are 2 of them in there. Then I'm going to flip this up, this down, and then flip my little swing tab to keep my page closed. So that's it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we will begin working on this set of pages that are going to go into the second side of the album. So I will see you in the next tutorial.